Chapter 9. Part 1. Learning objectives. Upon completion of this chapter, you will be able to describe speed, agility, and quickness, techniques, and their purpose in performance enhancement and injury prevention. Describe the role of SAQ training in improving sports performance. Identify the attributes of a progressive SAQ training program for athletes in any level of training. Identify SAQ training exercises. So this is speed, agility, quickness. 9. Introduction. Speed, agility, and quickness are some of the most significant and visible components of athletic success. An improvement in the ability to react quickly, apply significant force rapidly in the appropriate direction, and to redirect that force, if needed, is the ultimate goal of SAQ training. A carefully designed program that addresses these factors of athleticism significantly improves overall performance and reduces the risk of injury. SAQ all involve a combination of rapid force production and learned motor skills. Improvements in strength and power have been shown to improve SAQ by enabling the athlete to exert greater force in less time during sport actions. Although the magnitude of proficiency in motor skill will vary with each individual, learning the efficient and effective execution of these skills can improve overall athletic ability. This chapter aims to address the significant components of speed, agility, multi-direction speed, and quickness. Modalities and drills for improving these skills will also be introduced. Training for speed. Training for speed of movement. In context of athletes. In the context of athletics, speed is defined as the rate of performance of an activity. The velocity at which one executes a movement can be the difference between success and failure, between elite and sub-elite performance. Speed is a culmination. Speed is a culmination of reactive ability, rapid force development, rapid force application, and effective movement technique. Generally, when the force demands of an activity increase, the velocity output of the movement decreases, as determined by the force velocity curve, figure 9.1. The goal of a speed training program is to move the curve up and to the right, meaning that the athlete is able to create a greater force at higher velocities of movement. In combination with an ability to maintain biomechanically advantageous body and limb positioning, this creates an increase in the velocity of movement. The following are essential components of a well-designed program to improve speed of movement. Page 299. Stability, strength, and power. The following are essential components of a well-designed program to improve speed of movement. Muscle and joint elasticity, joint mobility and flexibility, movement techniques, specialized drills. Stability, strength, and power. Stability, strength, and power. Stability, strength, and power training help increase the ability of the athlete to produce high levels of force at high rates of speed. While stability training develops appropriate balance, strength training improves the body's ability to create force, and power training aids in decreasing the amount of time needed to create that force. These all have significant contributions in regard to improving strength. When performing stability, strength, and power drills, specific for speed development, it is important to include exercises for contributing areas such as the feet, anterior and posterior muscles of the shins, the core, and hip flexors, extensors, as well as a whole body program. In addition, movements, there's a storm right now. In addition, movements that emphasize powerful plantar and dorsiflexion of the ankles, as well as an extension and flexion of the knee and hip, are also important components. So these certain movements, plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, and then extension of the knee and hip are also important. So these movements will help you. Okay, a number of studies have shown that improvements in strength and power from traditional resistance training and plyometrics result in improved speed, agility, and or quips. Improved strength from a well-organized resistance training program increases force production during sprinting, jumping, cutting, or accelerating, decelerating, thus improving SAQ performance for younger athletes or older athletes lacking in overall strength. Force production may be a limiting factor in SAQ. Therefore, it should be a primary focus in training. It should be a primary focus in training. Excuse me. As strength levels improve, rate of force development may then become the next limitation. And plyometric training can have a positive impact on SAQ. If strength or power are limiting factors in SAQ, repetitive execution of SAQ drills will have a limited influence on performance by failing to address the underlying limitations. As the athlete develops strength and power, SAQ training becomes a great way to refine motor coordination and improve the manner in which athletes apply their strength and power in sporting activities. Muscle and joint elasticity. Ballistic movement, as found in SAQ training, is created by rapid lengthening of a muscle immediately followed by a shortening, creating an elastic effect of energy release. This ability to store and release energy is referred to as stretch shortening cycle and is affected by neurological control, the intrinsic qualities of the muscle, and the involved musculotendinosis junction. This action is often reflexive, referred to as stretch reflex. Training the muscle and tendon's ability to load eccentrically and rapidly, release energy concentrically, improves the magnitude and effectiveness of the stretch shortening cycle. Improvements in explosive force during sport actions such as jumping, hitting, throwing, and so on can be achieved through power training and plyometrics. Page 300. Joint mobility and flexibility. Joint mobility and flexibility. Joint mobility and flexibility. Joint mobility is the ability of a joint to move through its natural, effective range of motion, and is further characterized as the balance of strength and flexibility, regulating contrasting motions around the joint. Flexion, i.e. flexion and extension. In addition, the integrity of the muscle tissue and its ability to relax and contract appropriately during movement is a limiting factor in producing effective joint mobility. For example, when a sprinter comes out of the blocks, proper range of motion during hip extension requires strength of the hip extenders, as well as the ability for the hip flexors to lengthen properly to allow for full hip extension. If there is an imbalance of strength or flexibility around your hip joint, range of motion will be compromised, which will in turn affect force output and speed of movement. In addition, if the muscle tissue is not responding properly due to injury, adhesions, or other factors, performance will be diminished. Performance will be diminished. This can be improved with flexibility training. Movement technique. Movement technique. Proper movement techniques while executing speed, agility, multidirectional speed, and quickness drills allows the body and limbs to achieve biomechanically advantageous positions for optimal force production, thereby increasing speed of movement. Efficiency of movement becomes an important differentiator between levels of performance, with high levels characterized by little wasted movement and optimal movement coordination. Movement technique for speed, agility, movement, MDS, and quickness skills will be discussed and demonstrated. Specialized drills. Specialized drills. If force or rate of force development is a limiting factor of SAQ, general strength and power training will enhance performance by altering the force velocity curve. It is currently unclear at what point strength is sufficient for maximal speed during sport activities, but building a solid foundation of strength and power, along with mastering basic movement patterns, skipping, hopping, jumping, landing, is most appropriate in early phases of athletic development. After sound mechanical proficiency is established, specialized drills are effective in facilitating high levels of performance in the specific demands of an athlete's sport. These drills reinforce proper movement mechanics and movement patterns in a sport-specific environment while adding heightened demands to the neuromuscular system. These drills often imitate sport scenarios while adding additional reactionary force or other neuromuscular demands. Although they do not have to mimic a specific sport to enhance performance in that sport. Although they do not have to mimic a specific sport to enhance performance in that sport. Overspeed or assisted drills. A common means of adding neuromuscular load to movement drills is by applying the concepts of resisted and assisted speed. Overspeed or assisted running drills involve apparatus or running surface grade changes that aid in accelerating an athlete's movement. Moderate grade 5 to 6% downhill running, assisted bungee cord movement, and other towing mechanisms are used for this type of training. Generally accepted is the idea that as the athlete is accelerated at a rate to which they are usually unaccustomed, the adaptations involved will train the neuromuscular system to work at higher speeds. Eureka. Assisted speed drills are effective for improving stride frequency, a key component to running speed. Therefore, sports performance professionals must use direction in applying safe amounts of assistance that will not result in overstress or damage to the athlete. If downhill running is used, 5 to 6% slopes are recommended, but only if the athlete is capable of performing sprints at the slope without falling. Since this type of training is done at speeds beyond the body's normal capabilities, it is important to have a sound strength and mechanical foundation in order to attain maximal effectiveness and prevent injury. These drills are not recommended for beginners. And cut.